Hey everybody, welcome back to Erik and Arielle, where we're teaching you how to live a better life. Today we're going to be talking about some financial tips, especially how to get out of debt. We ourselves have been in debt and we've gotten out of debt. It's not an easy process, but the sooner you start, the sooner you can have freedom.
Erik and I are not professional financial people in any sense of the word. However, I personally have made a lot of budgets. Erik and I have gotten out of debt ourselves, and we have helped with giving advice, making budgets, and making a plan for other people who are in debt. Erik and I really like to make videos that are aimed to help people in every sense of the word, in every area of their life. If that's the sort of videos that you like, let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and let's get on with it. Looking at starting a budget can be a really scary process, and I know personally because I first made our budget and then I was kind of the enforcer when we actually started the budget. So making a budget can actually take a long time, and you definitely have to make it a priority to set aside time in your schedule to have that as one of your goals for the day. Now, the first thing that I want to address is making an emergency fund. An emergency fund is really important because if something happens while you're trying to get out of debt and you don't have that emergency fund, you are basically screwed and you will get even into further debt, and it's just going to be a big cycle. So I personally suggest that you start off with $1,000. After you get that $1,000, this is where I want you to kind of break down all of your bills for the month. If it's less than $1,000, then great, stay with $1,000. If it is more than $1,000, I would like to emphasize that you do try to make that a priority to up your emergency fund to all of your bills for the month, just so you don't get behind on those. Now we're gonna focus on organizing your debt and prioritizing it. So I want you to write down all of the debt that you have. You can write this on paper. I'm definitely a paper person. Erik is an electronic person. So I write down everything on a notebook, and then I look at all of the totals. You're gonna write down the full total, and then you're also going to write down your monthly payment, just so you can know how much you are spending a month towards all of these bills and how much you owe for all of these bills. Now, looking at this number can be really stressful and really overwhelming if you do have a lot of debt, but we're gonna tackle it one project at a time, so don't worry too much right now. This is gonna be a long haul process. Your debt can include your credit cards, any home loans, personal loans, student loans, cars that you owe on, and any medical bills too. Now you are going to organize them from the least amount owed to the most amount owed. Now, that is one way that you can do it. Some people also do the lowest minimum payment to the highest minimum payment. But if you do the lowest amount owed and you work on that top section, you are going to get rid of more debt quicker. And to me, that is definitely a win because I like things to get done right away. So once you get all those done, we're definitely going to prioritize that lowest amount that you actually owe and set all of your extra money towards that once you get your emergency fund completed. Once you get your total debt amount that you owe per month, now we have to do all of the other fun budgeting stuff. We need to know how much money you are bringing in per month. Any money that's actually coming into you, you need to count that as income. Now, it's really easy for most people to actually look and find out how much money they are making a month. Just go to your bank statements online, and every income that you see, add those all up. That's what you're making per month. Now, if your income is less than your debt, then you have a big problem with bringing in money. But we will talk about that a little later. If your debt is lower than the monthly income that you have, then you have a spending problem. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but it's probably true. If you are making less than what your monthly minimums are for your debt, you do have a problem with your income, and maybe it's time to start looking for a new job, or maybe even for a second job to actually be able to pay off all of this debt. So here's the long and boring process of actually doing your budget. I'm gonna link down below what Erik and I have used for the last year and a half or so, and you can also modify that however you see fit and whatever your house actually needs. So when beginning a budget, I always suggest to people that they start off with budgeting their past 3 months. This is gonna give you a pretty good average on what you're spending in your bills, groceries, gas, pretty much everything. And you're gonna be able to work from that and actually create a very fine-tuned budget after we already look at what you spent before. Go ahead and grab all of your bank statements that you have from the past 3 months, not including this month. So I like to cross things off in person, so I always print mine out, but you definitely don't have to do that if you are definitely a more organized person in the way of having a list on like the computer or your phone. You're gonna look through all of the categories that are listed on the left side of the budget template that I made, and you are going to add up every single category that is in your bank account. So for example, if you are looking at food, now Erik and I separated food and grocery because grocery is what we actually buy at the grocery store to send home to prepare to eat. Food for us is going to be restaurants, fast food restaurants, or any grab and go places like a vending machine or a coffee place. So we would look at, let's say, the month of January, and I'm going to look for all of my food items. So if I go to McDonald's, have that number, save it. Let's say we go to O'Charlie's, that's a restaurant, we're gonna save that too. Just keep going down, finding all of our food places, and then total those all up, add that total into the budget, and that's what you spent for the month of January on food. You're gonna do this for every single category in that budget, and at first it's going to take a little bit of time because you don't know where to put things or you need to make more categories. However, once you get the hang of it, you're going to be a lot quicker and it's going to go a lot smoother than what it's going to happen right now. Once you input everything that you have spent and everything you earned, the bottom of that budget is going to tell you how much money you have left over or if you overspent for that month. If you are spending more money than what you are bringing in, this is where you need to cut on some of your categories. I know for us, our grocery bill was a big one. Another one was our food. Going out to restaurants was a big problem at first. And we also had more spending in some categories that weren't necessarily needed, like buying new clothes, just any random little purchases that we didn't actually need that month. Through our budgeting, I've actually learned that people spend way too much money on food items, and Erik is definitely going to be touching on part of that. However, they can definitely save hundreds of dollars if they aren't going out to eat every day, or even if they don't go to the grocery store and buy all this junk food or pre-made food that either isn't very healthy, isn't very nutritious, and doesn't actually fill you up.
Let's say you make a budget and you realize, hey, I'm bringing in a good amount of income. Where is all my money going? Why am I still living paycheck to paycheck? If that is the case, it's probably time for some lifestyle changes. And I want to cover some basic things that you can do, really little things that you may not even notice that will save you money month to month and a whole lot of money year to year. I know how hopeless debt can feel and how crappy you feel in the morning when you're like, hey, I can't go and do what I want because I have this stuff that I should be saving money for. The unfortunate reality is that debt is not just going to go away overnight unless you win the lottery. But if you work at it, you can chip away at it and you can be debt free. Arielle and I definitely never lived lavishly when we were in debt. And now that we are not in debt, we really don't live any differently and we are just as frugal. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Part of this is how we were raised, and part of it I think is just us maturing and kind of prioritizing what is important in life. We aren't afraid to spend money when we need to, but for us it's just about balancing what is worth spending money on and the things that aren't, we save. So let's give a real world example that a lot of us have probably heard, but I want to do the actual math, and that is, how much do you spend on coffee? Alright, so let's say that you are stopping at Starbucks every day before work and you're just getting a normal drip black coffee, grande size, which is 16 ounce. That is $2.10. That's not including tax, and that is, like I said, black coffee. That's not the super expensive espresso drinks. That's about $60 a month just on coffee. Now let's say you buy a high-end store brand coffee such as 8 o'clock whole bean coffee, which is the kind that I use. I get 55 16-ounce cups of coffee from that bag. That bag is $10.66, which means that I am spending less than 20 cents on each cup of coffee. Now that's a lot of numbers and math, but I am saving $600 more per year that I can use to invest or save. My cup of coffee went from $60 a month to $6 a month. And that's just a little thing that you can do to save money. So eating out can be a great thing and it can be a lot of fun, but it definitely can get expensive. I grew up in a family where eating out was really just for special occasions, and I definitely want to incorporate that same mindset into my family. Cooking your food at home can save a lot of money, and it's great to know exactly what's going into the meals you prepare. The same can be said for fast food. Unless you're getting the lowest of the low quality, then you're going to be paying a little bit more than you probably would for a home-cooked meal, and you're definitely not going to be getting the nutrition that you should be getting. You've probably heard that, oh, healthy eating is just too expensive, I can't afford it, that kind of thing. And I don't really understand that. Maybe I'm just shopping differently, but I get a lot of produce, and in my opinion, produce is one of the healthiest things that you can eat, and produce is not expensive. Just get some whole foods, go down the produce aisle. It's not going to be the tastiest thing in the world always, but it's definitely not that expensive. We definitely don't shop in the most expensive stores, whether that's grocery stores or just clothing stores. We go to Walmart and Aldi for our groceries 90% of the time. And for clothes for our kids, we've gotten most of them either on Facebook Marketplace for cheap or free, or just thrift stores. Kids definitely don't need a $20 t-shirt if they're just gonna spill ketchup on it 5 minutes after you bring it home. I don't think that you need to buy the cheapest version of everything in your life, but it is important to find a balance. So if you are trying to make a career out of filmmaking, you may want to buy a really high-end camera, but you're driving an older used car. If you're an artist, you might buy the highest quality paint you can find, but you only have a 42-inch TV. You can treat yourselves to nice things, but you also need to know how to say no to things that you really don't need. There is one thing that I learned early that I'm really thankful for, and that is that buying stuff is never going to make me happy. Arielle and I are somewhat natural savers, but we do like to spend, and we definitely did more when we were dating. But now we've kind of realized that the more things we get, just it's more clutter in your life and it's not really making us happier. If we do make big purchases, we talk about them beforehand and we have a mutual understanding that we're going to be smart with our money. What does this look like for us specifically? Well, we don't have the newest phones. We bought both of our phones used on Swappa. We pay a combined $30 a month for our phone services. We don't have cable. We use streaming services, and the only ones that we're subscribed to is Netflix and Amazon Prime. We don't live in the nicest neighborhood in the world. We don't have the nicest house in the world, but we're happy with what we do have at this time in our lives, and we're just content overall. I believe that this is really the key to financial freedom, especially in your 20s. Just be content with where you are in your life and stay off of Instagram, because that's just people showing off their wealth, and it's just gonna make you envious and miserable.
So start saving what you can. Start your journey of getting out of debt today, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
This video is on not gossiping.
I like to gossip.
Yeah, go ahead. I know gossiping's fun.